Hello everyone. I'm moving from mangoes to a chapter of great quality. In case some of you uh, did not catch on to my hint at the very end of the last video when I said I prefer quality over quantity, I am doing John Galsworthy's story, The Quality, which is third in the list of your in your prescribed text, right? And before we start off with the story, which is one of my favorites in this collection. Uh, Something about John Galsworthy. What we need to remember is, apart from all that is given in the text, one very important thing is he always worked for a variety of causes. You know, causes which were, in the sense, human rights and animal rights and protection. And he also definitely, as we will see from this story, uh, was a was somebody who did not believe in compromises. One, if you want to be true to oneself, if you want to be true to the your own beliefs, you cannot compromise on your principles, and probably that is the basic tenement behind this story, Quality, set against the backdrop um, of commercialism and huge commercialization, the world of advertisements that took over our 20th century. Yes, in the West it took over much earlier. We in India, with when open markets came in, we got a taste of it, and we have not moved away from um, what the role that the immense, I think, role that advertisements play in regulating our likes and dislikes, our uh, conditions of livelihood to a certain extent, and also many a times we are so charmed by what the world of advertisement and projects in front of us, that the value of the intrinsic value of objects probably is lost, right? So again, in this story, which he wrote in the early part of the 20th century, is set in London. And I was actually went through the study of shoes, and I found, like in I'm in Kolkata, and in Kolkata, where the best leather, if you're driving to the airport, if any of you can recollect that you were driving to the airport years ago, we used to get the smell of this strong, leather. Certain parts of Calcutta, while on our way to airport, especially the Tangra area, yes, which is the Science City now, that area. And the Chinese there, the huge Chinese settlement here in Calcutta, are known for their leather work. Yes, their shoes were by far the best, and Newmarket in those days were absolutely attracted tourists from all over. It still does, but those days the Chinese shoes and the pure leather that they worked with, very famous. You have places like this in every city, I'm very very sure, because from the kind of leather that we use here in this city would be very different from the kind of artistic work and jutis that we find in Rajasthan, or if you go to Uttaranchal, you go to Srinagar and Kashmir, and then of course Punjab. So you will find a great variety of shoes, and in earlier days, which were based totally on the quality, right? Uh, and it still holds good in certain parts, yes, of course, right? So we begin with the story, and it's on page 25. You need a pencil. Mm, The characters, there are two. These are I pronounce them as Gessler because it's German, and German is a very phonetic language. So G is G. It's always is G. So Gessler brothers, you have the elder brother, and then you have the younger brother. There are two of them. Their names are not given. They're known as the Gessler brothers. And of course, you have the narrator, which we assume it is the poet himself. Yes, the narrator. And this entire story is the narrator's journey through life, and his interaction with the Gessler brothers, who made the most immaculate shoes that he could ever find. Yes, he didn't move away from them. He's a loyalist in that way. He only could buy shoes from the Gessler brothers. Now, I'm going to do the story a bit of a difference. So, what I would like you to do is, there are few things that I would like you to underline and sort of take a note on. On the first page, on page 25, if you come to the end of the second paragraph, you'll see the phrase "soul of boot." Yes, if you could please underline that, the soul of boot. That's that. The few terms that got sort of encapsulates the essence of the story, and the first one is soul of boot. Page 26. If you turn the page, fifth line from the top, you see it is an art. They are German, so the German speaking English, it is an art is pronounced that it is an art. Yes, the d sound is very strong when it comes to the phonetic German, right? You got that? Yeah, that's on the fifth line. The very next paragraph, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eighth line, very next paragraph, eighth line. Simple gravity of one secretly possessed by the ideal. The ideal. Could you underline the phrase the ideal? Yes, right? Okay. Move to two paragraphs below. You have a short paragraph beginning, for it was not possible to go to him very often. Yes. At the end of that paragraph, the last sentence, the essence of boot stitched into them. The essence of boot stitched into them. Have you got it? Great. Right? Could you now turn the page and come to, we don't have anything on the next two pages. No, I think I have, those are the ones I wanted to, yeah, okay, fine. So these are the little phrases that you will have to keep in mind. Also, what you, from these phrases, the the main thought behind the story comes out. When we are talking of the soul of the boot, now if I ask you, what do you understand by soul of boot? What is the soul of anything? Your soul, what does it signify, right? It would signify some kind of something that is priceless, that is something that lives on, something that is so perfect that nothing can tarnish it, right? So here we are talking of the soul of boot, the kind of shoes that the Gessler brothers made were like, as if you're looking at perfection incarnate. It was like the soul of boot. You couldn't get better shoes than that. So that is a very important understanding that we have of this. Second one is, it is an art. What is an art? The art is of making the perfect shoe, right? Anybody can make any shoe, right? You will need the basic knowledge of how to make a shoe, the mold, the way the leather is cut. But the art of making a perfect shoe means identifying the best leather, which would be the best leather for what kind of shoe, and the kind of fit that you would need, right? That none of your toes should pain. You will not have you will not feel uncomfortable, no discomfort when you wear a new shoe. Yes, the the arch would be so perfectly blended that you it would feel as if you're wearing nothing, you're just floating over the surface. That kind of shoe that you will have on, is to make it is an art, right? So again, perfection and art, right? The next one is by the ideal. Yes. What is the ideal? Any kind of ideal is again, which is, there cannot be anything beyond that. The perfection again, a synonym of the soul, if I may use it again. Yes, the ideal of a boot. That is the, you can say, the which stands as a, like when we talk of painting, immediately our thought goes to Mona Lisa, right? Perhaps that is the ideal. Yes, everything else will be matched according to what that Mona Lisa stands for. So here, all shoes will be compared to what the shoes that the Gessler brothers stitch and put together. So that is the idea. That is the perfection. Yes. And next is the last one on page 26, first, second, third, fourth paragraph. Essence of boot stitched into them. The essence of boot stitched into them. What is the essence of a boot? Suppose I asked you, what is the essence of a story? Essence of a story is probably the characters, the plot, something that, the story that will leave a mark on you even after you've read it and gone. Like the vision of the daffodils that left a mark on Wordsworth, even when he lies on the couch and closes his eyes, he sees the flash of daffodils. So the essence of the boot is is again, when you think about shoes and you close your eyes and there is the you dream about the best shoe that you have ever worn, the most comfortable, the best. You know that the essence of that shoe is in the shoes that the Gessler brothers have made, and they always make, right? So the essence of the boot stitched into them, which is in every way perfection, not just the design, not just the look, but the comfort and the feel of it. And a very important quality is for the Gessler brothers is the boots last a lifetime. Yes. Why? That there are different instances. Now, again, I'll take you to different parts of the story. The first time that the author uh, visits them, uh, he always used to buy shoes from them. So when he, as a child, his father used to buy shoes from them, and so it's a kind of a habit that continues. It always does. You carry on the family tradition, and they were in one of the best localities of London, the West End. Yes, and they used to, and there was this royal family. He made for any of the royal family. The tenement had a certain quiet distinction, where the shop was had a quiet distinction. It sort of it stood out. It was not flashy. It was not overtly very attractive, but it was, it stood its ground. There was no sign upon its face that he made for any of the royal family. There was no advertisement. We make for the royalty. We make for the duke and the duchess. Uh, Nothing like that. Just Gessler brothers. Simple. Yes. And so the only thing what's very important in it is, like I told you, he used to order shoes, but every time when he came back to buy new shoes, it used to be a long period of time. Can you give me the reason why? One reason, of course, could be maybe the author was traveling, but the other reason is these shoes did never wore off. So when he ordered the shoe, he knew that the shoe would last a lifetime, right? So he first was 2 years. Yes, he came back 2 years later. In the opening, he bought the shoes. He ordered the shoes. Then he comes back 2 years later because the shoes that he ordered the first time, they lasted, and he didn't need to buy shoes because they were going on great. So after 2 years, he decided to go. Then he found that the two things had happened when he visited the shop after 2 years. The shop had become smaller. It was half of what it was earlier. And the other half was taken over by another shoe company who advertised that they made the shoes for royalty. The world of competition and advertisement had crept in very strongly. The Gessler brothers did not pay heed to it. So that was after 2 years. Then he says, Next time he comes, it said after many months. So 2 years, then after many months. So again, the 2 years, whatever he ordered, they lasted. And after the many months that he came back, something else, each time he comes back, something of great importance has happened in the life of the Gessler brothers. The first time, the shop is halved. The second time, the elder brother had passed on. Yes. So that was a change that happened after he came many months. Next, he ordered many shoes then. Next, when he came, it was over a year. So after many months, next was over a year he came back. That time, the younger brother looked as if he felt as if it was, he had become the older brother. Because a man of 60 looked like as if he was a man of 75 or 80. He had aged, not just because of work, but it's very clear because probably of loneliness, probably because of not giving in to the rat race that they found themselves in. Right. So each time there is a decline. Okay, remember the word I used, decline. And then the last time we come across the narrator visiting the shop, it says, I came back after a pretty long time. He doesn't say anything much, a pretty long period. And that probably is more or less the last time that he visits the shop. Of course, he makes one more visit. That is when he makes the payment for the last shoes that he ordered. Now, so 2 years, after many months, over a year, and after pretty long time. Each time there is a decline. But the decline is in the condition of the Gessler brothers and the condition of the shop or their own condition. But there was never, and I repeat, there was never a decline in the quality of the shoes that they made. That never changed. That is the only thing constant in this story. Yes. So please remember that. We are not talking, we are talking for different age. You all might find it very difficult to comprehend because you will say, okay, this looks so flashy, this looks so neat, it looks so cool. So what if it doesn't last? I'll wear it for 2-3 months, I'll throw it and buy another pair. It doesn't cost much. We are talking of a different world here. We are talking of a world where things are made with such perfection that they last a lifetime. That kind of quality I'm talking about. You think about what you all do most of the time. Just think about it. If you really go for quality, you will not have variety. That's what you think. Because you need more numbers and you need quick changes to the styles that are coming into the market. This is the world. This is the present world. I'm not negating this truth, and I'm not even condemning you for doing it. This is what the present world is, right? Yes, you need to change with the times. But here I'm talking about a world where it was an art to make any object an object of perfection. Yes. So the shoes you make, you feel happy that they've lasted a lifetime. Yes. Now, what is the flip side to it? Very simple. Tell me. What do you think is the flip side to shoes that last a lifetime? Yeah, you're right. People won't come back to buy. I mean, if shoes last for a lifetime, that's why maybe he came back after 2 years and after a long time and after a year, after many days. Why? Because the shoes lasted and lasted and lasted. So, what do you think? I'm putting like a Hobson choice. You think that's better? Make make imperfect shoes. Make second-rate shoes so that they tear easily, and then you come back and order new so that my business keeps moving? Or would you want to make the perfect shoe so that you feel the sense of pride, the ownership, that these are the shoes that I have made, it's my mark on it? and it lasts a lifetime, which one would you choose? Uh, it's important for you to think about it and make the choice, because on the basis of that, you will also have to make a decision about what you understand about the mentality of the Gessler brothers, right? Because when they made the choice about quality, what did they forego? What did they forego? It's very simple. They they had to do away with constant customers. They had to do away with maybe their saleability, because and because if the shoes didn't wear out, people would not come back for more. So probably they ran out of orders. And another thing which is very important in the story, it says that they took an awful lot of time because they made everything to perfection. You know, whenever you want to do something really well, can you just hurriedly go through it and it'll turn out the best? Don't you always give the excuse, I wish I had more time, I could have done it better, right? So they did it. The Gessler brothers gave all their time to make that one pair of shoes, because they wanted each pair to be the best. So when somebody takes a lot of time and you need things in a hurry, what would you do? You would go somewhere where, okay, off the shelf you buy something. Gessler brothers did not have. They had just two little pumps put on the display, which was always there. They never had anything on the shelf because they made everything to order. Everything was made to order. So, you know, everything made to order does take time. So, that another flip side to their, it is an art, meaning they make every piece of shoe uh, the ideal. Yes. So, if you look at the first page, the very first page, I remember that it always troubled me to account for those unwearing boots in the window, for he made only what was ordered. Very important, that's what I said. You know, there are shops that you need to display nowadays. We see the display and we are attracted. You go to a mall, ooh, lovely. Some of us are only window shopping, we don't go in. There's so much on display, our time whizzes away just watching the displays. They did not have anything on display. You come in, you place an order. It's one to one. So that is one thing which is important, very different. And there are some lovely examples given here. He, that is the Gessler brothers, the younger one he's talking about, he would never have tolerated in his house leather on which he had not worked himself. Besides, they were too beautiful, the pair of palms, so inexpressibly slim, the patent leathers with cloth tops, making water come into one's mouth. There's such wonderful boots. The tall brown riding boots with a sooty glow, as if though new they had been worn 100 years. You know, that kind of an antique feel that you have. Probably, you know, Clint Eastwood had worn these riding shoes when he shot The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Okay, that I'm sorry. This is I'm giving you an example from the movie, the westerner that I love the most, and I can't think of a western. Or Rambo, probably. No, I hate it. I can't give you an example from Rambo. But The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or probably McKenna's Gold if you've seen it. Yeah. So, you know, shoes, as if, you know, you had Clint Eastwood or Gregory Peck wearing those shoes and walking, and it had the kind of feel of everlasting romance with those shoes. Those were the kind of shoes that Gessler brothers made. Yes, and those were the kind of shoes that the leather that he worked on would be on display. Nothing else could ever be on display. Yes, those pairs could only have been made by one who saw before him the sole of boot. Yes, the very spirit of footwear, who knew what, like you said, the most precious sole of boot, what is the most intrinsic, precious component of boots. Somebody who had realized it, somebody who had understood it, somebody who had mastered his art to such perfection that no shoe ever was compromised on perfection, right? So, and you know, the end of the first page, uh, he says, I was promoted to him at the age of perhaps 14. Some inkling haunted me of the dignity of himself and brother, for to make boots, such boots as he made, seemed to me then, and still seems to be, mysterious and wonderful. Mysterious and wonderful at the same time. He said, I don't know how they made their. So I really couldn't understand because they were so very different and they were so very beautiful and such exquisite work. Like it, you felt like you don't want to wear them, you want to just probably put them in little glass boxes and display in your living room. That is the perfection that they mastered. Yes. And uh, and when he asks Mr. Gessler the question, isn't it awfully hard to do, and his answer given with a sudden smile from out of his sardonic redness of his beard, it is an art. The pride of a master craftsman. It is an art. I have mastered it. I've learned it. I revel in this art. Yes, and that is what is important. And the next paragraph is very, very important because you have a lovely description. Yes, himself, he was a little as if made from leather. You know that you sort of reflect the object that you so love. So yellow crinkly face, crinkly reddish hair and beard. He had a guttural and one tone voice. For leather is a sardonic substance. Leather is something which is rough and grim. So these German brothers were equally grim and serious, and the sardonic look on their faces, yes, like the leather that they handle. Stiff and slow of purpose. This is a lovely alliteration. Leather is a sardonic substance, stiff and slow of purpose. It takes a lot of time. You have to mold the leather, you have to soften the leather. It is stiff. A person is doesn't display his emotions. There is a facade. It's stiff. It's grim. Yes, the visage is very stern, but within that, within the leather, there is a lot of softness. So you have to work on it, right? Uh, you have to soak it in water, dry it. There's a process, the entire process that goes on, and only then can the leather become malleable enough to put it into shape. So the brothers were like that. The visages were grim and but there's a sense of purpose, and there was a lot of heart within, a lot of warmth within. If there wasn't warmth, if there wasn't the love within, they couldn't have brought out the perfect shoes that they created, right? And that was one thing, was the character of his face, save that his eyes, which were grey blue, had in them the simple gravity of one secretly possessed by the ideal. So that ideal that I was talking about, man possessed of what? In the eyes, it was evident, the man possessed of, with making the perfect work of art. That was, for him, it was to make the perfect shoe. So in his eyes was the determination. In his eyes reflected the passion. In his eyes lay his determination and his dream of making the perfect shoe. Yes. So each time you you come across these phrases, you know about the quality, the sense of quality that the author wants us to remember. And if we end that, his elder brother was so very like him. So they were two of a kind. Yes. uh, though watery, paler in every way, with a great industry. Though he looked a thinner uh, version of the younger one, the elder one, and but the same great industry, the hardworking self that he was. And sometimes the author says, I was not very sure who I was speaking to, whether it was the younger brother or the elder brother. But as soon as he used to hear the phrase, I will ask my brother, again the guttural sound, brother, you knew that it was the elder brother, because in this relationship, remember, the elder brother always conferred with the younger one. The younger one was the one who was the more flamboyant of the two. Yes. The elder one was the quiet, self possessed. Yes. And the younger one was the one who spoke probably to the customers and was the one who decided on what kind of shoes the customers would have. So the only time that the author realized he was talking to the elder one was when he would say, well, I will ask my brother. That means the younger one. So that's how we knew. Yes. So the air of perfection about the Gessler brothers is also maintained in when he says, "When one grew old and wild and ran up bills, one somehow never ran them up with the Gessler brothers." I mean, you would not like to uh, not pay them on time. You would not like to not order from them because there was something about them that made you want to go and buy the boots. Probably the condition they were in, probably uh, the the relationship that had grown over the years. Yes, it it would not have seemed becoming to go in there, stretch out one's foot to that blue iron spectacle glance, owing him for more than, say, two pairs, just the comfortable reassurance that one was still his client. What is the meaning of this paragraph? Important paragraph. There was so much of perfection in them. There was so much of closeness, the association with them, and that you felt mm, you felt happy that you could come and order boots from them. It was as if it was very different. It's not that they were obliged to you for being a customer, but you as the customer felt obliged to come to them to order boots because they were perfection incarnate. They were quality personified, right? So I end today's lesson with the soul of the boot and the theme of quality personified in the Gessler brothers. Right? So we had a nice journey from mangoes to the soul of the boot. Till the next lesson, please do read and mark out the sections that I've told you and also the period of time over the entire story. Right? Take care, stay safe. See you soon. Bye.